Hi dear students, you are welcome in this video. Dear students, we have started a series on Indian writing in English and we are covering brief history of Indian writing in English. And here you can see it's post-independence Indian English literature 1947 to 1918. In the previous video, we talked about the poetry in the same period. Now in this period, we are going to talk about the fiction. This is hash for Indian writing in English and fiction. So let's understand the fiction. In fiction, we are going to include novels and short story, and here before that let's understand the questions which might be asked in your examination. For example, we are covering these questions in the video. How did post-independence Indian English novel develop, or who are the contributors to Indian English post-independence novel? Second, write a note on the development of post-independence Indian English short story. And third, discuss post-independence Indian English women novelists or their contributions. These may be probable questions for your examination. So we will try to cover these questions. Now I would like to suggest you this book, Indian Writing in English by K.R. Srinivas Iyengar, which is very important. If you want to explore more Indian writing in English, please read this book. Now let's start with some of the magazines and journals. In the previous video too, we talked about these magazines and journals which are important in the post-independence development of Indian writing in English. So here you can see Illustrated Weekly of India, Quest, now it is called as New Quest, and there are so many. You can read it. Now again we have another book, A History of Indian Writing in English by M.K. Naik, which you also can consult or read for your more understanding of Indian writing in English. Now let's talk about the very first fiction or novelist. Here we have Bhabani Bhattacharya, 1906 to 1988 is his lifespan, and he is considered as the first post-independence major novelist who have received Sahitya Academy Award in 1967, and he wrote some novels like we have So Many, Hungers, Music for Mohini, He Who Rides a Tiger, A Goddess Named Gold, and Shadow from Ladakh. You can have more information about these works, just you can Google or you can read the books I have suggested. Now here we have second writer, Manohar Malgonkar, and it is the picture of Manohar Malgonkar. Now Malgonkar also is famous for his fiction or for his novels, and he wrote Distant Drum, Combat of Shadows, The Princess, The Bend in the Ganges, The Devil's Wind, etc. And if you read his novels, you will understand that male characters are dominant in his novels, and he portrayed the male characters very minutely. Or we can have another side of his fiction, that just women characters are used by his characters as a instrument of pleasure, and there is no, we can say that, more delineation of women characters in his novel. So these are the novels by Manohar Malgonkar. Next we have number 3, Khushwant Singh. This is the picture of Khushwant Singh. He is very famous for his Partition novel called Train to Pakistan. Again he wrote another novel called I Shall Not Hear the Nightingale. So India divided into two nations in 1947, and it has a great effect on both the nations, and this effect or affect you can find in Khushwant Singh's writing in some short stories and in the novel called Train to Pakistan. This is a very famous novel by Khushwant Singh, where you find the partition trauma, the effects of partition on both the nations. Next novelist we have S. Menon Marath, then we have Bhalchandra Rajan, Surendranath Ghosh, G.V. Sahani, Arun Joshi, and G.V. Desani. So all these novelists are important in post-independence Indian writing in English, and they have composed so many novels, so you can explore them in detail if you want. But we are talking about the major novelists. Now these are the male novelists. There are some women novelists whose contribution again is very important in the field. So let's have a look at the women novelists. Very first we have here Ruth Praver Jhabwala. This is the picture of Ruth Praver Jhabwala, and lifespan you can see 1927 to 2013, and she is known for the simplicity of her style and language, a very lucid language she composes in. Now here we have some of his novels: To Whom She Will, The Nature of Fashion, The Householder, Get Ready for Battle, Esmond in India, A Backward Place, A New Dominion, and The Dentist. The another theme of her novels is encounter with East and West, or the encounters with East and West, the conflict between the values or value systems. You can see we can divide her novels into two parts. The first 4 novels and the second four novels. In the first four novels you find the comedy in Indian households you can have as a scenes or as the theme of her novels. In the second we have second part, that is the last four novels, we have the encounter of East and West. So again the same theme has been carried out by Kamala Markandeya in her novels, and here we have East West encounter. So some of the novels she composed are Some Inner Fury, Possessions, A Silence of Desire, A Handful of Rice, The Cofferdams, The Nowhere Man, Two Virgins, The Golden Honeycomb. So these are the novels composed by Kamala Markandeya, where you find East-West encounter as a theme, the value system, the conflict between the two systems. Next we have Nayantara Sehgal. She belongs to the Nehru family, Pandit Nehru family, and she is known for her political novels. And we have A Time to Be Happy, This Time of Morning, Storm in Chandigarh, The Day in Shadow, A Situation in New Delhi, etc. Now Nayantara Sehgal is known for her voice as a political novelist, and she is very straight in expressing her opinions on politics. So you find all the things in her novel. So she is basically a political novelist, we can consider. Next we have here Anita Desai, who is considered as the youngest post-independence Indian English novelist, women novelist. Here she is Anita Desai, and she is known for the dilemmas in the mind of characters. If you look at her characters or if you study her characters, you find that her characters give you a landscape of their inner mind. She is known for the delineating, portraying the mind of characters, and her novels include Cry the Peacock, Voices in the City, Why Blackbird, Where Shall We Go, This Summer, Fire on the Mountain. These are some of the novels composed by Anita Desai, and again she has an inclination towards using images and symbols. You find a lot of images in her novels, a lot of symbols in her novels. Say for example Fire on the Mountain. If you look at this title, you will understand how she has been using the images or symbols in her novels or in her fiction. Next we have some other women writers who depicted the Indian social life of Hindu, Muslim, Parsi households, which include Santha Ramarao, Venu Chitre, Atiya Hussain, Perin Barucha, Vimla Raina, Manorama Modak, Latika Ghosh, Bani Roy, Sally Athogia, then you have Tapti Mukherjee, Marail Washi, Veena Pental, then Raji Narsimhan, Bharati Mukherjee, Veena Nagpal, Jane Nimkar, Shanta Rameshwar Rao, and Kamala Das. These are all women writers, and they have contributed in the development of fiction post-independence. If you want to explore, just you can read these books, or you can just Google it out. Then you will have all the material regarding all these writers. And one thing you can do, that you can just pick up a writer and write down all the works or novels they have composed. For example, Santha Ramarao, just find out Santha Ramarao and her major novels. In this way you will understand all these women writers. So this is the women writers in fiction. Now let's talk about the short story in the same period. And here we have very first Bhabani Bhattacharya, which is also a novelist, the first post-independence novelist we can say, and he composed two collections of short stories, Indian Cavalcade and Steel Hawk. So this is the picture of Bhabani Bhattacharya. Next we have Khushwant Singh, again a very prolific short story writer too, and he composed The Mark of Vishnu and other stories, The Voices of God, and all other stories, A Bride for the Sahib and other stories, Black Jasmine. And his stories include satire, and he comments on the Indian life or on the Indian system. So you find a very live characters in the short stories of Khushwant Singh, and he is famous as a short story writer too. Then we have Manohar Malgonkar, again a novelist. Basically, if you look at these short stories, you will find this is the byproduct of the novelists. All these are novelists who have composed short stories. Manohar Malgonkar, we have short story collections, A Toast in Warm Wine, Bombay, Beware, Rumble Tumble, and his again short stories depict or glimpses, portrays the glimpses of diverse world of activism. Different types of sectors he has included in his short stories, and his short stories ranges wide on the Indian life. Next we have Arun Joshi, and we have his short story collection called The Survivor, a selection of stories. Then we have Ruskin Bond, a very famous Indian short story writer or storyteller, and his story collections include Neighbor's Wife and Other Stories, My First Love and Other Stories, Man Eater of Manjiri, The Girl from Copenhagen, and he basically writes about pets, animals, including different types of animals. He also writes on the orphans, abnormal children. This is a very difficult area of writing, but you can find that Ruskin Bond has handled this writing on abnormal children, orphans, then restless adolescents and frustrated old men and women too. So this is the contribution of Ruskin Bond, and his stories are very famous. You can pick any collection of his short story and read for your pleasure or understanding of the Ruskin Bond. Next we have Manoj Das. This is the picture of Manoj Das, and his short story collections include Songs for Sunday and Other Stories, short stories The Crocodile Lady, fables and fantasies for adults. So these short story collections are very important in the development of Indian writing in English, or basically the short story writing. And he also received Sahitya Akademi Award for his short story collections or short story writing. Then we have Sasti Brata, and we have short story collections A Search for Home, My God Died Young, and Encounter. Next we have Ruth Praver Jhabwala. Now these are the women short story writers, Sasti Brata and Ruth Praver Jhabwala. Short story collections include Like Birds, Like Fishes, An Experience of India, A Stronger Climate, How I Become a Holy Mother. These are the Ruth Praver Jhabwala short story collections. And some other women short story writers include Krishna Hoti Singh, Atiya Hussain, Sujata, Bal Subramaniam, Nargis Dalal, etc. So these women short story writers also have played a very crucial role, or we can say that important role in the development of short story in post-independence India. Basically we are talking about post-independence India, and in post-independence India we talked about the fiction. I hope you understand the fiction and short story, or novel and short story, and its contributors. Now you can solve these questions which we have discussed at the initial of the video. So this is all about the fiction in post-independence India. I hope this video will be helpful to you. Thank you very much.
Wow.